Well, our local area is also home to some special people who know exactly what a gift organ donation is. Brock Hancock was born and raised in Knox County, proud to call the area just south of Monroe City home all his life. Brock's wife, Brenda, a native of West Union, Illinois, also began calling Knox County home when she and Brock married in 1999. And for all of those who were blessed to know Brock, we know how much he loved his life and everyone in it.
Brock was charismatic, fun, hilarious, loving. He would defend you to the end. He was just an amazing person. He was a great husband, great father. He really was an incredible human being.
It was in 2007 when Brock was diagnosed with a genetic disease, multiple endocrine neoplasia type 1, or MIN1. It's a rare syndrome that grows tumors on the endocrine system, and Brock's body was growing tumors, especially on his liver and pancreas. Although these tumors were not cancerous, they were dangerous all the same.
As they grow, they're taking up space and they're crowding out that healthy organ. So pancreas, liver, and that was the only place that he had disease at the time. So for 2 years, he really got in shape. He started really taking care of his body. He was working out, the nutrition, all of that, which I know helped immensely.
Brock was doing all he could to stay healthy, but the tumors were still growing. That's when IU Health's world-renowned transplant surgeon, Dr. Rodrigo Viana, called the Hancocks and asked if Brock would be willing to undergo a multiple organ transplant. 5 organs to be exact, which would replace his digestive system.
That was a little bit overwhelming. We weren't really expecting that. Not expecting a doctor to call you and say, hey, let's replace all your insides. But that was how they felt would be the best way to keep the disease from returning. So at this point, when we got to that point, he was actually getting fairly ill. I mean, he was not feeling well. And so by this point, we were like, this is our only option.
Brock went on the official transplant list in late March of 2009. 3.5 weeks later, the Hancocks received the call that there was a potential donor. As they headed to Indianapolis, they also knew that this may not be the answer they had been praying for.
They were very honest with us from the beginning that a lot of times they'll call you, you'll go up there, you'll be expecting to have a transplant that day, and then they find the organs will not work. So we were very much aware of that and cautiously optimistic as we traveled up there, and we arrived at the hospital. Yeah. We went to a small sort of pre-op room where we spent the day, and just not knowing whether or not it was going to happen that day. They went ahead and prepped him. Family started arriving, and there were a bunch of us up there. And we sat there all day while we waited. Right. And then as we were sitting there, one of the nurses who we eventually became very close with, because you do become like a little tight-knit community up there, we heard her say, she was on the phone, and we heard her say, so Hancock is a go. And we knew then that it was going to happen, which adds a whole other level of emotion on it when you know, okay, this is it, we're doing this today. And so.
What kind of condition was Brock in at that point when you got the call?
He was very weak. His color was terrible. He looked gray, honestly. And we did find out later that one of the doctors did tell us that he probably only had 10 days to maybe 2 weeks before he wouldn't have been here.
After a remarkably smooth, textbook-style 6-hour surgery, Brock had 5 brand new organs that were tumor-free. After recovery, Brock settled into regular trips to Indianapolis for his anti-rejection infusions, and he gratefully was living life to the fullest, a life he was blessed to still be living, thanks to someone else's tragedy.
It was extremely humbling probably one of the most humbling things that I've lived through, and I know he would say the same. What a gift that this family was willing to offer that up. It's incredible just to think of this family who's going through their darkest day and they're thinking of someone else.
Brenda and Brock's daughter was just 9, going on 10, when Brock had his transplant. Thanks to that gift of life, he was able to be there for Sydney as she continued to grow up.
We talked about it all the time. I mean, without the transplant, he would not have seen her graduate high school. He would have not seen her start her own business. I mean, become engaged. I mean, family vacations and all that. We would have missed all of that with him. So, I mean, it just, as I said before, it's just such an incredible gift that they gifted to us in their time of sorrow.
Not only did Brock enjoy every day that he was gifted through his transplant, he became an advocate for organ donation. Anyone scrolling through his Instagram account would know that, with his profile name proudly displayed as 5 Organ Han. Brock would often talk to those close to him about the miracle of life he received, often welling up with great emotion, which everyone understood. He and Brenda spent their time giving back to the Indiana Organ Network to help raise awareness.
We became volunteers, we did several events, and just kind of threw ourselves into that for quite some time. Because it is important. It is important for people to know. It's important for people to hear the stories like Brock's story of, the life that he was able to live because of it. I mean, years added to his life, 14 to be exact. I mean, that is just, it's just amazing to think about it. And I don't think people think about what they're actually giving when they sign up to be an organ donor.
Brenda says it's important to spread awareness about organ donation because they learned firsthand that most folks aren't aware of the need until it hits closer to home.
You never know when you're going to be the one in need of something like this. You never know when it's going to be you that needs a new liver, that needs a new heart. And to keep that in mind, because you certainly would hope that someone would be generous enough to offer that to you when they're done with it. And that it can happen to anyone. I mean, I would have never dreamed that we would have been in that situation until you're there.
Brock never took for granted his time with family and friends, who in turn enjoyed their borrowed time with him as well. Unfortunately, his MIN-1 disease did not let up, as tumors eventually started growing in and around his head, which affected his vision and ultimately led to his passing in 2023. But for those extra 14 years, Brock made sure to make the most of his time here on Earth.
He's told me many times that he would never change a thing, even through his illness, his transplant. He said, I have had a great life, and he meant it. And he did. He really did.
So how do you go forward, keeping his legacy going?
Talk about him.
And I know he's here today, and he has a great story, and you're helping tell that.
Thank you.
Brock will truly never be forgotten.